All right, we're going to get started. It's a few seconds short of 7:05. My name is Emmanuel Briggs. I'm moving the slides tonight, which is why you can't see my face. But I'm sure all of you know me at this point, Director of Community Affairs here in DC Water's Office of Marketing and Communications. And we want to start off by saying, giving a great big thank you for attending this meeting, wherein we are hoping to address any remaining questions regarding our project as we head into the next phase of it, i.e. the CIPP operations. Before we get started, however, I'd like to give the floor to Commissioner Bear to give a few, welcome and a few comments. He's been working very well with us throughout this project and this upcoming phase of the work. And we just want to give him a few minutes to kind of give his greetings. Commissioner Bear.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
I want to thank you, Emmanuel and Will and everyone at DC Water for having this meeting this evening and preparing the slides and for the information you've been providing during the ANC meetings, and to the community as we've been reaching out for information. I'll turn it back over to you, Emmanuel, and I'll watch the chat room in case there are any additional questions that you may not be able to handle because of the number. And we'll make sure that we address all the questions that the community has this evening. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. And one more space we want to provide before we get started. I understand that either Councilmember Fruman or his designee may be on the call. We want to give an opportunity for the council member or his designee to give a greeting as well, if you're on the line.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Sinnenberg. I am the Council Members Constituent Services Director. And yeah, I look forward to the presentation, and our office is working with Commissioner Bear to help how we can, and with DC Water. So if you have any questions for me, also please let me know.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amy. Now we're gonna get into it. But one more thing, a little bit of house rules before we get started. I do want to mention that there's lots of information to get through. I believe there's close to 30 slides. So while we are prepared to go a little bit over tonight, I know we just blocked an hour for this. We do want to be able to get through all the information and have enough time for Q&A at the end. So we do ask that you please either hold your questions and or place them in chat, and we will definitely get to as many as we can tonight once we get to the Q&A. The meeting is being recorded. I just want to say that up front. Hopefully no one has an issue with that. And we will be emailing the slides to the community following the meeting tonight. And the meeting recording will be uploaded to our website. Because of its size, as you can imagine, we won't be able to email the recording, but it will be posted on our website. And so with that, we are going to get started here. All right. Okay, so for this meeting, these are the agenda items that we have. We're going to give you a little bit on the project background, project benefits, construction updates, CIPP overview, the CIPP timeline update, the CIPP tutorial. We're going to talk about the PID and testing. We're going to look at some photos of the work area. And as mentioned, we're going to have the Q&A. All right, so project background. We are working under this project on 6,200 linear feet of sewer pipe rehabilitation, repair of impaired stormwater runoffs, and soapstone stream restoration. Now, with this slide, I want to make a couple points clear. But we do know there has been a little bit of misunderstanding or confusion regarding the scope of work under this project. We will be rehabbing all 6,200 linear feet of sewer pipe within this park area. We do understand, however, but there has been increasing interest in showing exactly where we plan to have the boiler trucks and the refrigeration truck locations. We will be showing those in graphics later on in the presentation, but just want to clarify, we will be working on this entire stretch of sewer pipe within the park. Also, we want to address another inquiry that we received recently in terms of, are we going to be tearing up any streets as part of this project? We will not. We will be parking next to manholes to access the sewer, but there will be no tearing up of streets per this project. So just want to specify that as well. All right, project benefits. While we understand there are community concerns regarding the construction processes, we always want to tie it back to the project benefits. At the end of the day, this is a positive project for the environment and the community. So some of these benefits, some of the highlights as far as the benefits to mitigate the risk of major sewage spills into the park, ensures long-term safe recreational use of a valued community asset. It'll protect the park trails and replace invasive species with native species trees. It will stabilize the creek channel to reduce erosion and reconnect the natural floodplain. It will reduce unwanted odors from sewers and manholes. And last but not least, we do want to point out that even in the early phase of this project, we've already been able to implement some improvements, i.e. some stream improvements at sites 1, 2, and 3. So we're already doing some good work even in the early phase of the project. All right, status update. We do want to just remind customers about our permitted construction hours. We are permitted to work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. As part of this, there will be some temporary lighting that may be necessary during daylight savings. As far as current status, our Site 1 stream work is 55% complete, so a little bit over half, and we anticipate to continue the Site 1 stream work during the week of March 20th, 2023, with a projected completion by April 2023. The stream work bypass number 1 to resume the week of March 20th as well. Manhole rehabilitation and inspections are ongoing. Air quality monitoring will begin next week, the week of March 13th. And then, last but not least, we just want to specify that the CIP lining installation will begin at Site 6 during next week as well. And we, as part of this, the DOEE, DC Water, and independent monitoring inspector will be on site at all times. We know that was another concern. Will these operations be monitored? They will be monitored at all times. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Jarrell.
Thank you, Emmanuel. I'll give you a brief overview of the CIPP process. CIPP essentially stands for Cured in Place Pipe. And what that is basically installing a new pipe within an existing one. And by doing that on this job, we are able to minimize excavation and earth disturbance. Um, Also, the digging will be limited to just accessing portions of the pipe if they're too damaged or collapsed to install CIPP within. And this CIPP photo below just kind of shows a graphic of what a before and after product would look like. We go to the next slide. All right. So how is CIPP installed? From the start, it starts with a fabric tube that'll be soaked in a uncured plastic liquid resin. And all of this prep work will be done off-site. From there, once the fabric is prepared, it'll be loaded up in a refrigerated truck and delivered to the site. Next slide. Um, and once that fabric is on site, the contractors will insert that tube into the existing pipeline through a manhole. And you'll see how we're working from manhole to manhole in one of the later slides. But they'll insert that pipe into the sewer line and pull it through to the next manhole. And then from there, they would apply hot water into the tube to allow the resin to cure. Once that lining is installed, then we would reconnect to the laterals, and that's done by a robotic machine that goes in and will cut out holes and open it up to the lateral. As you can see in the photo below, these are some of the equipment that will be needed on site during this CIPP process. So that includes some trucks that'll be used for the CCTV process, the refrigerated box truck that'll be used for transporting the liner, also a boiler truck that will help cure the resin once that process starts, and then also a water truck for cleaning the pipes. All right, some of the advantages of CIPP. It's a relatively quick installation process, which will minimize any disruptions to the surrounding stakeholders. Limited excavation, and then there's also be minimal restoration needed once we're done. And this is an extremely smaller footprint than a full pipe replacement. And however, there are a few limitations of CIPP. In some cases, areas where we have some sags or offsets or a pipe collapse, we may be unable to put in the CIPP at that in that particular area. And also, CIPP pipes have a shorter lifespan than a full replacement, but this will give you about 50 years. Taking a look at the map on the screen, I'll just walk through. I'll walk through the legend really quickly so you can see. The dark blue areas represent the stream work area. So when we refer to stream work, those blue areas encompass that whole site. The red lines identify our limit of disturbance. So this showing some of the access points where we'll come in and be able to get into the site. We'll show you some of the access paths later in the slide. And if you can see the green dotted line running from site 6 to site 4, that shows you the portion of the CCTV that's been completed so far. And that will be our first portion of CIPP work to be performed. And we are anticipating to begin that work the week of March 13th, starting from site 6. Once we complete the work from site 6 to 4, then the contractors will come in and complete the remaining stream work at sites 4, 5, and 6. If you could go to the next slide. Here's a view of our that initial segment of CIPP. Here's the schedule for it. So as I mentioned, we'll be going from sites 6, working our way upstream to site 4. And we anticipate beginning that the week of March 13th. I do want to mention on March 13th, we will have our air quality inspectors out to get a baseline testing, and then they will be on site for the duration of that CIPP process. And with that, I'll hand it over to Kevin, the contractor with IPR, who will walk through the shot photos.
All right, thank you. Yes, my name is Kevin Schnabel. I'm the contractor installing the CIPP. We've done CIPP for over 30 years. We've had multiple projects with DC Water, which include New Jersey B Street, and then a project through the National Arboretum. First shot will be on the bottom to the right towards Broad Branch. The boiler truck location is that rectangle box. We'll initially have the reefer truck, and then once the inversion happens, we'll bring in our boiler truck.
Kevin, just real quick, you mentioned reefer truck. Can you clarify what that is for everybody
Yes.
who might not know what you're referring to?
Yeah, so it's a refrigerated truck. With our product, it needs to be cold before we install it due to the catalyst being heat.
Next slide, Kevin.
Yeah, next slide, please.
Okay, sorry.
As noted, we're going from the bottom up. So we'll have similar setup. This is our shot 2. Again, boiler truck being where the box is, and then our line that we'll be rehabbing. Next slide, please. This will be another shot, a little bit longer than our last one. Again, the box being where our boiler and inversion point would be, and all inversion occurring from that point. Excuse me. This is our shot 4. Similar, keep going up through the park, boiler truck being at the top, and then that shot that is highlighted right there. And then finally, this is the last shot for our initial segments. And again, with our boiler truck location shown. Once we complete our CPP, we'll do a final post CCTV visual inspection. This will be submitted to DC Water so they can then review and ensure that everything that we completed was per the contract.
Thanks, Kevin. And just to touch back on the community outreach for the CIPP process, and throughout the rest of the project, we will definitely provide monthly updates and communication related to the project schedule. We'll be providing emails to our distribution list, which will show you how to join the list towards the end of the presentation. And we're committed to providing impacted stakeholders a 14-day notification, a 7-day notification, and also a 48-hour notification prior to beginning the CIPP work. If the image on the right is a screen grab of the door knocker that'll be left behind at the homes and businesses of impacted customers. And on that notice, it'll provide an overview of the work to be completed. It'll provide you with our 24/7 project hotline, and that's the telephone number listed below. And that's 202-301-8058. And again, that is a 24/7 project hotline where we can be reached. And the last thing is the notice will also suggest some methods to enhance ventilation and go over some P-trap maintenance. Next slide, please. And with that, I'll hand it over to Melissa, who will dive into the P-traps and air quality monitoring.
Thank you, Jarrell. So included on that door hanger was some important information on ways households can prevent sewer gases and odors from entering residential properties. So shown on this image is a P-trap, and these can be found underneath our sinks, tubs, floor drains, various places throughout a residential property where water drains into the outgoing sewer. So shown here is a dry or leaking P-trap on the left versus a working P-trap on the right. And here you can really see how when filled with water, the P-trap can prevent sewer gas from passing through, and would really prevent it from exiting the sink or the drain into the indoor airspace within a residence. So as a precaution, homeowners can pour water down sinks or drains to ensure that the P-traps are properly filled. As an added level of protection, sinks or tubs can be filled with water and just use the drain stop there, and it will, essentially ensure that you have that water stop between the sewer and the airspace within a residential property. We can move to the next slide. Thank you. So recognizing there is a potential for these CIPP related activities to have chemicals become airborne. There are some volatile chemicals that are being used as part of that resin. An air quality air monitoring plan has been developed. This plan includes both real-time monitoring for total volatile organic compounds as well as specific VOCs for some of the chemicals that were part of the resin that's going in the liner. The plan includes both real-time monitoring as well as some integrated sampling or confirmatory sampling through laboratory analysis as part of the project. The air monitoring plan has been reviewed and approved by the DOEE. DC Water has hired an independent testing contractor, WRF, to execute the air quality monitoring plan as written. They will perform the required field measurements. They'll be reviewing laboratory results as they're received from the analytical laboratory, providing communication of any concentrations that warrant response during the activities, and they'll be there to monitor conditions on an ongoing basis, and eventually some of the data reporting once the CIPP activities are completed each day. It is important just to reiterate that air monitoring is going to be performed during all CIPP activities. It is scheduled to begin on March 13th with an initial baseline period or assessment of air quality prior to the commencement of activities. But it will be active during each of the shots that were shown on the previous set of slides. Next slide, please. So looking at some of the instrumentation we're going to use during this project, and give me just a second. I think my screen froze. Sorry about that. Fun time. All right. So here on this screen, we're showing a photoionization detector. This is going to be used to measure total volatile organic compounds during the project. This instrument provides a measure for the total of all VOCs present in air. So it's kind of a screening device that we're going to use in real time. We will have several of these on site. These are going to continuously monitor with 15-minute averages upwind and downwind of the insertion manhole and refrigeration truck. This is really assumed to be our greatest potential sources for VOCs to become airborne, because there's certainly a direct connection. They're going to that liner will be in ambient air prior to going into the sewer. In addition to that, we'll have periodic handheld surveys performed downwind and just above some of the manholes along the shot route. So we'll have the termination manhole, any pass-through manholes, and then also, if needed, the downstream manhole. And also, in the event that the sewer is connected with any lateral connections to residential properties, PID monitoring will be performed after the plug on any of the cleanouts. And I am going to show a visual just in a little bit here that'll help make those positions make a little bit more sense. Next slide. In addition to the PID, we will have a field gas chromatograph unit on site. This is going to allow us to measure some specific VOCs, specifically cumene and acetophenone, which were identified as our chemicals of interest. So we'll have the ability to really resolve some of, if we get a total VOC measurement, we'll actually be able to tell whether it was cumene or acetophenone. And we'll be performing these measurements at several locations within the work area periodically as needed on a routine frequency. I do want to point out that real-time monitoring, both with the PID and the gas chromatograph, will be performed in coordination with some integrated samples that are also going to be collected on site. And these integrated samples will be sent off for laboratory analysis under the appropriate methods for the chemicals of concern. So we'll get a full spectrum of VOCs with those analytical results, and we'll really be able to determine what is in air by looking at those. But that's an after the fact evaluation. So the instrumentation used in real time is going to be calibration checked in the laboratory prior to entering the field. And also I will be performing some on-site field calibrations as well, with some, that really those field calibrations are going to be similar to atmospheric conditions and really allow us to demonstrate quality assurance objectives or data quality objectives. So the next slide shows a scenario where the sewer lining activities are going to have direct lateral connections to residential properties. And in this situation, we have continuous monitoring and integrated sampling being performed upwind and downwind of the refrigeration truck and the insertion manhole. So those are shown next to the yellow truck, about 1/3 down that main trunk line. I will point out that when I say upwind and downwind, I'm really talking about wind direction here. We want to capture what's coming, what's going in and out of that project area. We're going to pair that with periodic handheld measurements for total VOCs, cumene and acetophenone with our PID and our GC. And those are going to be performed at the pass-through manhole, which is just below the refrigeration truck, as well as the termination manhole, which is one sewer, one gray circle down. And then we'll have our downstream manhole beyond that. In addition to that, total VOC monitoring will be performed on the opposite side of the plug. So the plug on the lateral connections, there's a clean out. And to the left of that, there's a plug. So we'll be performing that total VOC measurement on the opposite side of the plug, really to confirm the integrity of the plug and that there's no VOCs moving beyond it. I should point out that we have this plug, but really we also have P-traps in all of those houses to help prevent, or that should be in place to prevent, or to provide, I guess, one more layer of certainty that we don't have emissions entering the households. So looking at the next slide, we have a series of routine reports that will be compiled by this independent contractor to, really to facilitate and summarize the information to our stakeholders. These include various deliverables. So we have a daily field report. This is designed to really focus on those real-time monitoring results. And these summaries will be shared with DOEE in the event of any concentrations, total VOCs, or for cumene or acetophenone that are greater than our action levels. And then sort of once we've wrapped up each project area, a more final report will include the real-time monitoring results as well as integrated sampling results. These reports again will be submitted to DOEE for review and comment. And then at the conclusion of the project, we anticipate a final report to be prepared with all 6 project areas. Next slide. So a big part of the air quality monitoring plan is really the real-time aspect of it. The plan was designed to provide feedback on air quality conditions in real time so that our CIPP contractor can make decisions quickly if we have changes in air quality conditions. So in the event of an exceedance of an action level, our on-site team is going to assess the situation, will identify the source of the concentration and determine next steps, and then communicate those with the relevant parties. And our next steps may just be making our work zone bigger. So the point at which the public has access we'd extend the size of the work zone. And that we have that option just to make that area larger as needed. And if warranted, we will contract the appropriate authorities and work with them on site. And then eventually, if we have this exceedance, those air quality results are going to be submitted by the next day to the DOEE, and we'll be, working in consult with them. So Gerald, I think this is my last slide, and I think you get to talk about noise next.
Yes, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, on this slide, as we mentioned in the presentation, we will be returning to the park to continue performing stream work at several locations within the park. And with that stream work, it may be some noise associated with the work. Some of the noise that you may hear will be some heavy rock delivery and hauling to and from the site. We anticipate these activities to continue until April 2023. Um, and also the pumps, you'll hear stream bypass pumping. That activity will continue at Site 1 through April 2023 as well. And then also sewer bypass pumping. This pump will begin the week of the 13th, and we would need to have this pump running throughout the CIPP process. Um, and then with the next slide, we'll look through some photos from the site, showing some of the improvements that have been made so far. On this screen, if you look on your left-hand side, that was the previous condition of outfall 117, and that's located near Site 1. So you can see the before and after look is a much better product, and we'll still be doing some extra stream work in that area as well. Next slide, please. This is just a before and after shot in the Site 1 area after some of the stones were installed and also completion of that outfall. Moving through the next slide, I'll move through these sort of quickly just so we can have enough time. All right, and this slide shows some of the new stones that were brought in on site to create that riffle in the park at Site 2. And then on your right-hand side of the screen is an example of manhole armoring, where we put those rocks around the manhole to to protect them from any damage or erosion. Next slide. Here's a view of some of the stairs at Site 4. To the left was the pre-construction condition, and on the right is a more finished condition. Still some work remaining there at that site. Next slide, please. And then once again, we are committed to community outreach and stakeholder engagement. We'll continue to provide regular updates, communication to Councilmember Fruman's office, and also the Ward 3 MOKers. We'll continue to maintain a close working relationship with the businesses impacted and also the residents. We'll be providing updates via our email distribution list. So those will start to go back around as we continue doing our work. And also attending community events just to increase project awareness. And then also we'll continue attending the ANC monthly meetings and providing updates as needed. And then that door-to-door distribution of the CIPP notifications. And we have been in close contact with the property managers at the surrounding apartment complexes. We actually had a meeting on site with some of them as well, and we will be notifying the folks within those buildings. And then also providing an aggregated report to stakeholders. As I mentioned, we will have a active distribution of weekly project updates. To join that distribution list, you could just add me to soapstone.info@dcwater.com. And just to reiterate, the 24/7 project hotline is 202-301-8058. And DC Water's 24-hour command center is 202-612-3400. And with that, we'll go into the Q&A portion.
Thank you, Jarrell. So at this juncture, we are ready to entertain questions. However, I want to circle back with Commissioner Bayer to see how you'd like this to happen. If there are some questions that you want to kick us off with, or do you just want us to start with the chat and as folks are raising hands?
Let's see. I would suggest that you essentially go into the chat and capture some of the questions that you've already had, and then have people start raising their hands and answer those questions.
All right, good deal. So Raisha and Jarrell, if you can start to kind of call out those questions, we'll start to answer them.
Okay, perfect. No problem. One of the first questions in the chat is from Audrey Powers. She says, this question is fairly specific to me, so maybe Melissa could reach out to me in private chat so I don't take up time. I live in a large apartment building directly on the site of work. I assume door hangers won't make it onto everyone's front door in the building. How can I find out exactly when CIPP will be happening on my site, which is site 1, to make sure I can take extra precautions? I am pregnant and worry about these volatile compounds affecting my fetus. I understand air quality will be measured, but how will residents be notified and quick enough in order to prevent any inhalation of these chemicals?
Peter or Kevin, do you want to take the first half of that about the delivery of the door hangers?
Yeah, well, for the door hanger, it's going to be into the door hanger is actually going to go to the folks on the Audubon terrace that's going to be directly impacted because the communication on that door hanger specifically is to those people that are directly connected to the sewer that we are rehabilitating on Audubon terrace. For folks that is not directly connected to the sewer that we are rehabilitating, we will still be communicating. I think we told ANC that we will give them the same protocol, 7 days, 48 hours before we get to that site. So that's the plan. The door hangers only go to the 11 residents on the Audubon terrace.
And if I can just add, one of the reasons that the larger buildings don't need one is there's that manhole in between that allows for any air to escape at that manhole, and then there's the plug on the upstream side, and we've got the air monitoring around that at the whole time. And then I'll take the second half of that, about the how will residents be notified in quick enough order to prevent any inhalation. There are about 1 million different scenarios, so there's not one specific answer to that. They're all highly unlikely, but we're not able to provide a specific answer to that because the different scenarios that could exist. We're partnering with DC FEMS, and we're committed to any quick and urgent response if and when needed. But there's just too many scenarios to kind of describe what that might look like.
Well, just to build on that a little bit, the air monitoring plan is designed to measure emissions at the point at which they're greatest, which would be right at the perimeter of the work zone. We would anticipate a level of dispersion or decreasing concentrations with distance as we approach residences or businesses or nearby community, which is why one of the main tools we have is to extend the area of our work zone and make that bigger. That's our first defense, and we will use that as appropriate. We have those handheld survey devices, which will be able to kind of go a little bit deeper into the community if we need to, just to provide verification. There's some flexibility in the AQMP to allow for that.
And we have also committed, to add another thing back to Peter's to Peter's comment, we have committed to posting that schedule on our website and providing regular updates there. So you'll be able to go back to that as there's updates as we move through the park.
And last thing, just to add to that, the Audrey Powers question, if you want to leave your email behind, we'll also be sending out weekly updates that'll show you the upcoming activities. So that'll be a great help. All right, moving along to the next question in the chat. Emmanuel, is it through April 2023 or until April 2023 for the haul-in at Site 1? Kevin, did you?
Kevin,
Yes. So for site 1, we plan to resume that within this month and then finish in April.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. The next question in the chat is, where is the sewage pump going to be located at Site 1, and how loud would it be? Will it be?
hey, Jared, can you put that map again? The overview of the map that should with the star where the pump is going to be located.
To the overview.
Okay,
Hold on.
that should be slide 13, Emmanuel, I believe.
Tell me when I get to it. Is it this one?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you look at the top left hand of the map, just under outfall F117, you'll see a purple star on the map, and that indicates the general pump location. All right, going to the next question from Tara. When is the CIPP work on Audubon Terrace expected to start?
Kevin, can you?
Yep, no, that's fine. So as we plan to work through the park, after we complete the trunk sewer, we're gonna do all the feeder lines, which are the ones coming into the park, and the final will be Audubon. So we don't anticipate doing that until late September.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. Next question from Marlene Berlin. I would like an explanation of how the bypass system will work and monitoring of the integrity of piping.
So for the initial setup, once it's in place, we do a water test by filling up all the pipe and seeing that there's no leakings before we put it into place for any kind of sewer. And during it, we have pump watch to ensure that there is no leaking.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. The next question is from Chris Ree. And it is there a revised timeline for the completion of this project?
So I'll chime in on that one real quick. For the overall project, so that would include finishing the the CIPP, as well as the revegetation, the replanting, and the restoration of trails. We're currently anticipating that will 100% all be finished by spring of 2024, about a year from now, a little over a year maybe.
All right. Thank you. I think that also answers our next question. How long is the entire project? We'll just answer that. Our next question is, how much advance notice will be given of water/sewer shutdown, and what is the anticipated duration of the shutdown for each residence?
There's no water or sewer shut up throughout this project. There's not, even on Audubon's Terrace.
Right. Thank you.
Hey, Jarrell, I think we missed one. Did we cover the one? How long is the entire project? It was after Chris Reed. Okay.
Yeah, I had briefly touched on it. The questions were kind of back to back, the same.
Okay.
I think we'll answer.
Gotcha.
Okay. The next question is from Marjorie Share. Are any of the chemicals involved the same as the chemicals involved in East Palestine?
So I can take this question. My personal understanding of the events that are in East Palestine is that was a release of vinyl chloride, which, although is a VOC, is not expected during this project. So it's not one of our chemicals of interest based on our review of the, the chemicals that are included within the resin and any activators. However, vinyl chloride is a chemical which will be reported as a VOC through those integrated samples we're collecting. So it's certainly not something we think will be there, but we will have results for it.
All right. Thanks, Melissa. Same for the boiler truck and refrigerated trucks on Audubon Terrace. When will those trucks be on Audubon Terrace?
Excuse me. Those trucks will be there once we complete our CIP installation, so that would be anticipated end of summer.
All right. Thank you. The next question is, how long will the sewage bypass pump be running to the end of the project? Is that during business hours or only 24/7?
The pumping will occur when we're installing our liners. So if we're not installing, we'll shut them off. So it won't be a 24-hour process.
Right. Thank you. The next question, will any areas of the park be open for public access before spring 2024? Can the park be open in phases as the work is completed in various sections?
Well, I'll chime in on that one. And Nick Bartolomeo from the Park Service, if you want to add anything after my answer, feel free. But our plan with the way that the restoration and the vegetation is, for safety purposes, the entire park would have to remain closed so that we can have access to it. So we're not currently planning on being able to open it in phases because of the way the construction activities will have to happen for the restoration and the vegetation in the last steps throughout the entire park.
And Will, this is Nick. Yeah, I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question or comment, the door hanger you showed in an earlier slide stated that recipients should not use the shower, flush the toilet, or drink water for a period. I call that a shutdown.
It's suggested.
Okay.
It's a suggestion. We are not making them do it.
This is a point worthy of a little bit of clarification. We won't be shutting off the and Kevin, I'm going to ask you to confirm, or Peter, we're not going to be shutting off water. So if you turn on your sink, you'll still get water coming out of the tap. The reason that we're asking you not to have a significant amount of water going down the drain is during the liner, that the sewer ladder will be plugged. So any water that goes down your drain will not make it into the sewer. And if you put enough water down, it will just back up into your basement or whatever drain happens to be lowest. So it's more of a matter of making sure that you're not inadvertently, creating any flooding damage inside the house.
Perfect. Thank you, Will. The next question is from Marjorie Scher. Could you speak to waste disposal? Will it be trucked to Blue Plains? And how often will it be taken off site?
Sorry, I got lost a little bit there. I was trying to keep track of the chat. Peter, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Could you please? But I don't think there's a waste disposal.
Yeah, the only real waste disposal from this process is the cure water inside the liner, and that's down inside the pipe while it's curing. So when they cut that open, they discharge that into the sanitary sewer system. So that waste product remains inside the sanitary sewer system all the way down to Blue Plains treatment plant, where it goes through the same treatment process as everything else that comes to Blue Plains.
All right. Thank you, Will. Follow-up question from Tim Lay. How long will the plug period be for each residence?
Kevin, you want to answer?
Yeah, so most of the plugging only will occur on Audubon. Everything else, as we're plugging for any bypass system, is already capable for any flow. So no residents directly that's not connected would not be having any kind of plugs. So only ones would be the ones on Audubon, and most lining operations should be with, or all lining operations will be within our 7 to 7 work window.
So the worst case scenario for not being able to showers or laundry kind of a thing would be 12 hours. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that's correct.
correct. Yes.
Thank you.
The next question is, will the water usage issue for flooding be the items that you will advise the neighbors with the door hanger?
I believe that's on there. Peter, can you confirm?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question was, will the water usage issue for flooding be the items that you will advise the neighbors of with the door hanger?
You talking if they're talking in terms of backup, and I think we'll kind of touch on it, that they should just minimize during that 7 to 7 hours for people
Yeah.
on Audubon to just work, monitor. What we are advising is don't do laundry, take a shower before 7, don't do dishwashers. Those are the stuff on the door hanger. If they can just minimize it from between 7 and 7 p.m., that'd be greatly appreciated. We don't, those are the only problem we see.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Peter. Yeah.
So
So that.
the short answer there is are those water usage issues on the door hanger? The answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay. Next comment is from Eric Berman. He says, last year when the pump was running in Site 1, the only noise insulation on it was pieces of plywood. Is there a different insulation this year since it appears that the pump will be running off and on for another year?
Kevin, you want to take that?
Yeah, as of right now, it would be the same installation. We were taking decibel readings the whole time to ensure that we were within the construction limits, and we'll continue doing that when it re-engages.
I would just follow up. If we got complaints, we're already looking at other measures to take, rapid insulating the pump. But we don't believe where we're gonna put the pump now is not that close to the to those buildings anymore. But we will take, we will keep a watch on it. If we need to do anything, do additional insulation, we will.
Thanks, Peter. And that is all for the questions that are in the chat.
Jarrell, can I jump in real quickly? Dr. Waterman had a question that she emailed to Will and I, so we want to address that as well too. Can you confirm my understanding that both the CIPP work and boiler and refrigeration trucks will not be on Audubon Terrace until the end of summer/September?
Kevin?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct.
Yes, so anything on Audubon directly would be our final installations.
Thank you. One other request, Emmanuel, they said before you finish, could you put up the contact slide? Which is slide 35. All right. And that, okay.
Jarrell, there's another question that popped in for Kevin.
Okay, to the contractor, have you ever had a CIPP problem?
My company's done, hundreds of thousands of feet. So by nature, there's always potential in having problems, but nothing that's been catastrophic.
Thank you, Kevin. And then we wanted to open up for the hand raise option to see if there are any questions from the folks on the line.
There's another question in the chat.
All right. Thank you. Question is, so you don't expect to hang door hangers until September? And I guess that's related to the work on Audubon Terrace.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. All right, thank you. Are there any additional questions? Okay, I see Commissioner Bear has his hand up.
Yeah, I've got a question. What are the water restrictions going to be for the apartments?
There's no water restriction for the apartments. We're not cutting their water out. We put in a bypass.
I've got one other point. I was told that the Lenore Lane residents were also going to get door hangers and 14-day, 7-day, and 2-day notifications. Your presentation seems to left those residents out of that notification, but I would ask that you please include those houses in your door hangers, especially since they'll be on a trunk line, but they're going to be potentially impacted both during the work in the park and that trunk line that's coming from Lenore Lane, and you only have about a dozen and a half residents there.
Yeah. And like you said, there is that manhole in between, so there is that gap there. It's a few extra handouts, so I don't see a problem with that. Kevin, Lenore Lane is down on the schedule a little ways. What's your time frame for Lenore Lane?
Because right now, like I was saying, we're doing everything through the park, then all the feeder lines. So with that, we'll do our initial setups for the trunk that is sites 4 to 6, and then move 1 to 4. And then from there, we'll do the feeder line. So I would say towards the end of summertime, midsummer.
Kind
we'll
of
have
on
a
that
better
same
idea.
schedule as Audubon Terrace.
Yeah, it would be right before that, because Audubon would be the last lines, because you have one line that feeds into the park from Audubon, and then we would do Audubon. But once we move to the upper part of the park, we'd have a better understanding of our timeline for the feeder lines.
Okay, so I have another question for the Lenore Lane folks. You will have a portion of the in the park work right behind Lenore Lane. Can you estimate when you'll be doing that work? It looks like it's one of the first few shots that'll be happening.
Yes, if you go back to the schedule itself, it breaks out each of the shots and anticipated dates, which are coming up.
Slide 19, Emmanuel. Well, it's really 19 and 15. Yeah. So shot 4 is the one that's directly downstream of that sewer line.
I believe it's shot 3 and 4, if I'm remembering correct. If you can pull back, I can.
It's 3 and 4.
Should I be showing another slide?
Yeah, the shot breakdown one slides. If you could.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah. Shot 3 and 4. Okay.
There you go.
Yep. So it would be shot 3 and 4, which is the week of the 22nd, or excuse me, 20th. Excuse me.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat what you've just said, that there will be a shot in the park behind the Lenore Lane community sometime in March, and you're estimating sometime around the 20th of March, you're going to be doing that shot.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bayer. Are there any additional questions via the chat or hand raise option?
While we think about that, I'll just reiterate that I'm going to email these slides to the community tonight, so you'll have those, and then we're going to be posting this recording on our website. So I anticipate that being up by tomorrow.
Oh, I have one more question. That's a kind of a general question. It appears from what you're saying that each shot is about 2 to 4 days in length. Is that a correct estimate of how much time you'll be doing one of those shots? And if that's the case, then the real critical time during the CIPP process, is that only going to be limited to 1 day, or might it be 2 days?
We anticipate only 1 day per shot. Per the schedule, we list 2 just in case if we have to come back and do our post CCTV the day after. But installation and curing process would be 1 day.
And you're basically saying that each shot will take between 2 and 4 days to do?
Oh, we're anticipating 1 day and we're giving ourselves a buffer for that second day. But non-continuous work.
For each shot, it's just one day. The second day, if he needs to come take his post CCTV, he's just reserving that day. But in short, it's 1 day.
Thank you. Hope that answered your question. Once again, are there any additional questions? With that, if Emmanuel, if you could flash the contact screen one more time while we close out for the evening. All right. So once again, I just wanted to say, if you want to sign up to receive project updates, you can do that by sending me to soapstone.info@dcwater.com. Again, that's soapstone.info@dcwater.com. Also, there is a 24-hour project hotline, and that number is 202-301-8058. And the DC Water 24/7 Command Center is 202-612-3400. With that being
Awesome.
said, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, Jerome. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for attending this meeting. Thank you all for being great community partners with us. We certainly understand the concerns with the construction processes, and we only hope that we have been able to, present the information in a way, and to work our plan and plan our work in a way that certainly can address these concerns and other concerns. You always have us, as Jarrell mentioned, at your disposal with any questions beyond tonight. Again, we are in prime time next week, so we're all excited about this new phase of the project. This is what we've all been waiting for. And yeah, we'll say thank you. I'll send this email. I'll send these slides out tonight. We'll get the recording uploaded to the website by tomorrow. And again, you have us at your disposal with any future questions. And thanks for joining tonight.